I've always been afraid of mirrors. Not because I feared seeing something supernatural, quite the opposite. I'm afraid of seeing myself. Every time I look in a mirror, I remember that I'm a killer. Not by court verdict, on paper I'm clean. But I know what I did. And he knows. My brother. My name is Alex. And I will never forget that day. Because that day, my brother went to prison. Instead of me. I was 14. My older brother, Travis, was 17. We grew up in a small Colorado town where everyone knows your name, but no one actually knows anything. Dad left when I was little, so Travis became more than a brother, he became a dad. He made me wash the dishes when I didn't feel like it, broke up school fights, taught me how to ride a bike before I even began walking straight. Mom worked nights. Then days too. We never had enough money to just sit and breathe. But she held us together. That night, I was supposed to stay home. I remember it well. Travis warned, "Don't go to that warehouse. Grayson will be there. He'll provoke you." But Grayson had been messing with me for a year, the sheriff's son, arrogant and violent, like he owned the town. Still I went. Darkness. The abandoned warehouse. Teenagers drinking cheap beer. Grayson on the hood, holding a bottle. He saw me and smirked. "Look who's here, little Alex. Where's your nanny brother?" My fists clenched. I was shaking, but silent. "You tongue-tied? Or did your mom raise you without a spine?" Then something snapped. We fought. He shoved me. I fell. I grabbed something heavy, a metal pipe. A stick? I struck. Once. Twice. When I opened my eyes, he was lying still. Blood on his head. No pulse. I wanted to scream, but couldn't. Fear gripped me. "You just killed the sheriff's son. You'll die in prison. You're a killer. A child. What have you done?" Then Travis appeared. He'd been looking for me, feeling something was wrong. His eyes saw everything, and didn't blink. He wrapped me in a hug like when I fell out of a tree. "I'll do everything," he whispered. "You go home. Now." I gasped for air. Tears streamed. But. No buts. I was there. I did it. You were home. Remember. The next morning, they came for him. Weeks later, Travis Evans, 17, sentenced to 8 years for manslaughter. The town became hell. Mom became an outcast. I couldn't walk down the street without eyes on me. But no one knew the truth. Except me and Travis. We hardly wrote after that. I was ashamed. I never learned how to say, thanks, to someone who sacrificed himself to save me. I started texts. "Brother, you didn't have to, I killed him, not you," and deleted them. And I lived. Lived like nothing happened, while inside, everything rotted. Mom stayed silent too. I could see it in her eyes, sometimes covering her face. One night, thinking I was asleep, she sat close and whispered, "He was always stronger than you. Always." I graduated high school, moved away, and went to college. Tried to be normal, made friends, smiled, buried the truth under jokes, booze, nightmares. Then I met Megan. She was different. Not like anyone else. She didn't ask dumb questions. She seemed to know my darkness, and didn't run. She just stayed. I didn't tell her what happened, just that my brother was in jail. A fight. She didn't ask more. And I fell hard. We married when I was 24. Travis still in prison? I didn't invite him. Didn't tell him I was getting married. Maybe I was scared. Maybe I knew he'd never forgive me. After the wedding, we moved back to the hometown. Megan wanted to be closer to family. I just wanted to prove to myself I was no longer the kid with a pipe, that I'd grown, and deserved a life. My sister, Joanna, was 18, living with Mom. An anxious, complicated young woman, but Megan accepted her. They became close. Too close, maybe. One night I woke to laughter. Megan and Joanna upstairs at midnight. When they saw me, they froze. Then smiled. "We were just remembering your teenage antics," said Megan behind me. "You were a mess." I smiled. But inside, something clenched. Years of silence. Illusion. I thought it was behind me. I believed I deserved happiness, until the door opened, and he stood there. Travis. He looked like he never spent those 8 years away, but his eyes were colder now. Distant like deep water. "Hey, kid!" I didn't say a word. Just stood there. Like when he said, "I'll do it for you." And I couldn't say anything. Megan hugged me. "This is Travis," he said. "I'm Alex's brother." He offered his hand. She shook it. I felt my stomach collapse. We didn't hug or say we were happy to see each other. We just sat in the kitchen. He was calm, sipping coffee, as if nothing happened. "I got out on parole," he said. "Behaved well. 1 more year and restrictions lift." Megan asked something polite. I didn't listen. I stared at his hands, scars from prison. "Aren't you happy?" he asked quietly. "I'm just surprised. I wrote to Mom. She knew. But didn't tell you?" I was silent. He understood. That evening, Megan and I argued, our first real fight. "Why didn't you tell me you had a brother?" she said, not shouting, just disappointed. I didn't want to relive the past. It's not the past, Alex. It's part of you. I didn't know how to explain. It wasn't just a brother, it was my burden. He sacrificed himself. And I never wrote to thank him. He stayed in a guest room for a few days, or said he would. But I knew it would be longer. Tension every night. Megan tried to be accommodating, but I saw she was uncomfortable too. Only Joanna. She lit up around him. Smiling, staying up with him late. I heard them through the thin walls. One night I entered the living room and found them on the couch, laughing. She had her hand on his shoulder. He looked at her differently. I coughed purposely. "Oh, Alex." Joanna jumped up. "We were just reminiscing." "Right," I muttered. Travis stood. "Listen, I thought maybe I'll stay at Mom's. Don't want to burden you." "No need," I lied. "All good." It wasn't. The next day Mom called. "You need to tell him," she said quietly. "He deserves to know." "Know what?" "Everything. About Megan. About your life, and that she may have been expecting." "That's not life, Mom. You don't know prison. You don't know what he endured for you. If he hears it not from you, it'll be worse." That night I couldn't sleep. Lying next to Megan, I thought, what was he owed? What was I owed? Did my silence punish him enough? In the morning things got worse. I left for work and saw Travis by the gate. Joanna beside him, holding his hand. They spoke quietly. She jumped away when I approached. He didn't explain. "Want to walk?" he said. "I need to talk." We walked in silence along the river, where we used to fish as kids. "I'm not angry," he finally said. But, that you got married. That you went on like I didn't exist. And He stopped. "And you?" "I learned to survive alone. Without light. Without family. Without you." I felt shame rising. Megan changed over the following days. Quieter. Refusing dinner. Then I found her phone on the table and read messages from Joanna. He must never know. And Megan's reply. "I know. But I'm scared. If Alex finds out." I shut the phone. Thoughts raced. What? What am I not supposed to know? I confronted Joanna. "What were you telling Megan?" I asked. She swallowed. "That's none of your business. She's my wife," she said quietly. "Not anymore." That shook me. "What did you mean?" She didn't answer. She just looked at me long. Then walked away. That night I asked Megan flat out, What are you hiding? Nothing, she said. You're lying. Some things are better left unsaid, Alex. I stood up and slammed the table. This is my home. My decisions. If you or Joanna are hiding something, I need to know. She looked at me. In her eyes, pity. Believe me, you don't want to know. Then everything stopped. Car crash. Megan and Joanna were returning from the store. A truck cut them off. The car crashed, flipped. I arrived first. I still don't know how. My instincts. The car smoking. Joanna crying. Megan unconscious in the seat. And I had to choose. I saved my sister. She died instantly. The fireman's words were calm, professional. Sadly, she died at once. I stood alone by the wreck, holding Joanna shaking with sobs. And hearing that, I somehow thought, better to be sudden. I immediately hated myself. Everything became fog. They asked if I wanted to identify someone. I don't remember my answer. Mom came. Joanna clung to me. Travis watched silently. I felt detached, watching myself sign papers, waiting, listening to how the body will be released in the morning. The funeral day, the sun shone as if nothing had changed. And that was the worst, like the world had no grief. I held Megan's portrait, her smile from our wedding as if mocking me. People looked at me like a grieving widower. Empty compassion. No one knew I lost more than a wife. Maybe myself. I didn't go home after the ceremony. I just walked. Lost among thoughts. If I had saved Megan, if I had known about the betrayal, none of this would ever be the same. I came back late. The house silent. Joanna sat on the floor, wine bottle empty. Puffy eyes. You could have saved her, she whispered, looking at the ceiling. I know. Why her? Why me? I didn't reply at once. Then sat next to her. Because you're part of me. Since the beginning. She came later. She loved you. I loved her too. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. Then she said, she never got to tell you the truth. I looked at her. What truth? Not now. Tell me. Joanna trembled, stood, and looked straight into my eyes. She needed to tell you something. And she didn't make it in time. Then left the room. That night I couldn't sleep. Among Megan's things sent lingering, her fear. You weren't the father, she hinted. The word child echoed. I opened her drawers and eventually opened her phone. No codes anymore. Messages. I found their earlier conversation. This time I read it all. Joanna. You must tell him now. It's gone too far. Megan. I'm scared. If he learns. Joanna. He deserves to know. This is a child. A child. My heart stopped. She was pregnant? I scrolled further. No direct words. But notes. Hints. One message. I'll tell him after our anniversary. Once things stabilize. I never remembered any of this, never heard or sensed it. I didn't notice. I confronted Joanna first. Was she pregnant? Silence. She stared long. Then lowered her eyes. Yes. By me? Longer silence. I don't know, Alex. You knew. I suspected. But she never confirmed. She trailed off. I crumpled inside. My hands hitting the wall. She should have told me. She should. And you should have too. She cried silently. Then I needed to know, whose child? I went to the hospital. Requested DNA testing from the fetus. Needed approval. A reason. They gave me what was needed. 2 days later, the result. The child was not mine. I sat in the car. Unable to breathe. My wife carried my brother's child, and I never would have known if she hadn't died. I didn't go home that night. I drove to a gas station. Bought cheap whiskey. Sat in my car. Wondered if life was even worth living after this. Then saw an old man feeding a stray dog by the roadside. And I cried. I returned home the next morning. The house empty. Joanna gone to Mom's. Travis gone too. I opened the room they laughed in, empty. I sat in the center and said to the quiet, "You won, brother. But I'm still alive." I tried again. But someone began dropping notes on the porch, one with Megan's handwriting. "But she's dead, so who?" I didn't speak to Travis after discovering the truth. No call. No curse. I just removed him from my life. He didn't leave. I did. Joanna disappeared too. Mom said she needed time. So did I. But I was alone, with betrayal, guilt, and silence that choked. I didn't leave the house for almost a week. No work. No appetite. Just lying there listening to the walls. Megan appeared nightly in dreams, not as a beloved, but in white, her belly round. Someone approached her from behind. I woke in sweat. On day 8, I stepped outside to breathe. Found a note on the porch. "Alex, you don't know everything." First I thought it was a prank. But the handwriting, so familiar. I took the note inside, turned it over in my hands, placed it on the table, and drank coffee. But the coffee did nothing. Hours later, I found an old anniversary card from Megan. Comparing the handwriting, they were identical. This was impossible. She's dead. I touched her cold hand. This was real. But the note? I thought for a moment maybe she wrote it. I drove to the cemetery and stood over her grave. "If you are here, tell me what to do." Only wind and leaves answered. Next morning, another note placed quietly behind the house. "Not the whole story. Some things were decided for you." Again signed. I began to lose my sanity. Checked cameras, old ones broken. I installed 3 new ones that same day, focused on where I found the second note. Nothing next night. Second night, nothing. Third night, a figure appears on the left side, hooded and moving silently. She leaves a note and vanishes. The posture, the walk, it looked familiar to me. For a moment, I thought, it's Megan. Then I remembered one line from her hidden letter. "If someone learns what happened to Grayson, I'll be dead." I found a second hidden letter under the fold. It said, "One letter hidden. If you are finding this, be careful." I drove back to where it happened. The warehouse was nearly gone, burned beams, cracked concrete, graffiti. Silent. I entered slowly. My steps echoed memories, where I stood, where Grayson was, where I struck. Something didn't match. I always believed I killed him. But the note said, "You didn't." I turned on my phone and dialed the only number I never called anymore. "Travis." He answered after 3 rings. "Hello? It's me." "I know. We need to talk." Silence. Then, "Where?" "Where it began." An hour later, we stood across from each other among the ruins. I spoke first. "You said you'd do it for me." And took the blame. "Yes. But I remember something else. I hit him. But when you arrived, was he already dead?" He lowered his head. Stayed silent. Then looked up. "No." "What?" He was breathing. "When I carried you out, he said you'd go to prison? That he'd tell everything. He'd destroy you. And?" I grabbed the same pipe. "And?" He stopped. I whispered, "You finished him." He didn't respond. I wanted to scream. Hit him again. But I couldn't. He looked at me with the eyes of the brother I once trusted, and who became a killer in my mind. "You knew all this. I protected you. You protected yourself. But you protected me too. If they investigated, we both go down. I was older. I made the choice." "And Megan?" I asked. "Yes." "What did she learn?" "From me. After it happened." "Did you think she'd stay silent?" "She promised." But she left notes, for me to find, and then died because of the truth. Travis looked at me. I looked at him. Then I understood. I didn't kill Grayson. I lived with that guilt while my brother was the true killer. He used it to manipulate. And Megan wanted to correct it, but never got the chance. That night I found another note at the door. You're closer, but it's not over. Someone else knows too. And is silent. Now I knew it was someone else who held the secret, and never spoke. I listed possible people. Joanna knew. Mom probably suspected. Megan knew. Travis acted. But someone else. Then one name came to mind, Sheriff Randall. The sheriff, Grayson's father. He'd been the one to close the case quickly. Travis convicted based on a confession, but no witnesses, no video, just a verdict. I realized it wasn't luck, it was cover-up. Next morning, I drove to the Randall home. His ex-wife and retired sheriff on a farm under town. I showed up. The old man in a rocker didn't even blink. I knew you'd come. You knew? He nodded. From day one. And stayed silent? Because sometimes truth doesn't help. But it was my brother who took the blame, he replied. He volunteered. And you were his kid. If one of you deserved a life, it was you. In the car heading back, I didn't know what to say. Waiting for me at home, another note. This is the last. Forgive us. We tried to protect you, but probably only made it worse. You have the right to anger. But don't live in it forever. You deserve to be free. Is it real? A printed note? Or my mind giving me closure? I gathered all letters, memories, photos, stuffed them into boxes, sealed them, took them to the garage. Then I went to the police station. I sat across from the desk sergeant. I want to file a report. About what? A case nearly 20 years old. I told everything. The night. Travis. Megan. The lies. He listened, then said, The statute of limitations has passed. No one will go to prison. But you just lifted a burden you carried your whole life. I nodded. A week later, I received an unsigned letter in the mail. Handwriting perfect. You did the right thing. Now you live. Not for them. Not against them. But for yourself. Months later I moved. Started a new job in a modest apartment. No photos. No reminders. Sometimes I dream of them, but each night brings a little more peace. I'm not seeking forgiveness. I didn't become better. I just became free.